allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You knew that was false. For anybody who had never heard that before, that question is now planted into them, unqualified representation that Mr. Kohberger stalked one of the witnesses, and that's false. We do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area. There are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants.
Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Hey guys, make sure my camera was on. Good evening. How's everyone's Monday ending compared to how it started? Because that hearing this morning was poop. We all know that hearing this morning was poop. They were very not prepared, which like I said, and I'm not trying to be like an I told you so person. But I did mention the fact that there wasn't a lot of information there. I don't feel like it should have continued, but they definitely should have been more prepared. I want a roundabout answer. And now that we have to wait until August for the next hearing, that is so absolutely annoying. Like more than annoying. It makes no sense that they're dragging it out that long. These are supposed to be lists, not detailed reports. So I don't know what they're thinking. I just don't understand. And again, considering the fact that they are still allowing the family's attorney, that Leander guy, to still have some sort of say in things, he could probably request for things too. Like, oh, I need more time for my little old report. Can we push this back? And then everything else gets pushed back. Just very annoying. Thank you for the gifted membership, So Much Corruption. 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Congratulations to those who got those. We're not doing our members only Monday on Monday this month because it's a holiday this Monday. I mean, the Monday for this month. So we're going to do it the next day. I'll have all that scheduled out here soon. Oh my God. Okay, so we are going to be freaking going into chapter 7. I'm going to cover we're going to talk about a couple things before I get started in this. If you've been following my, let me put it like this. If you've got your notification bell set to all, then you saw the stuff that I posted in the community tab earlier, and I want to go ahead and address it here. I don't really know if there was anything that I was going to bring up to review, like on the screen in way of chapter 7, because I didn't read it today. I read it yesterday or day before yesterday and took notes on it. So there's a bunch of like writing and stuff in it. So I guess we're just going to talk about the notes that I have in here and the things that I have circled, but it's like Lakeland's interview. And we just went over Lakeland's interview, and he doesn't really give like a specific for why he puts Lakeland's interview in here. So we're just going to talk about the chapter in itself and the information in the chapter in itself. Let me go ahead and reclip this real quick. And then we'll get started with little news thing number 1, I guess. Oh my God, 5 more. Thank you so much for those. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, So Much Corruption. And 5 more. That's 50. That's 20 altogether. Holy crap, holy. Congratulations to those who are getting those memberships. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Don't forget we do a giveaway. And the members only live. That's amazing. Thank you so much, So Much Corruption. That's hard to say. That's hard to say. Okay, let's see. A couple things. I'm going to give y'all this link in case you haven't seen it. We'll go over it later. You know that I don't like to just hop on to what people post. I let it do what it needs to do first. Christie's Chaos posted some footage of Eric Gower, which I guess I didn't really realize that they had this. But it's him like at his house. I guess it's like his front camera. I guess I really just didn't realize that they had this. And I didn't know that this is what people were talking about. I saw like 2 little bitty small 10-second TikToks. Oh my God. Thank you for being a member, Sir Bubbles, for so long. And 10 more gifted memberships. Holy crap, Ollie. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Holy crap. That's 30. Oh my God. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you. Christy put this up today. I put the link in the chat so that you guys can go and view this on y'all's own, and then we'll review it ourselves later on this week, maybe. Again, I wasn't aware that they had footage of him anywhere. And it looks like it runs from, let me see if I can tell you all the time. Hold on. It runs from 11:13 at 25 after midnight. And then it looks like it's in segments. And it stops at 12:49 on 11:13. So right before 1 p.m. is when it stops. So y'all can go and watch that. And then I'll wait to watch it until we can review it all together. Because I have no idea what it shows. I have no idea if it shows him leaving and coming and going. I mean, I don't know like how they sent it, but it goes on throughout the night. Okay, second thing. This was crazy to me, guys. Mark Fuhrman died. O.J. Simpson's attorney died in Kootenai County, or Kootenai County, however you guys say. I think isn't it Kootenai County? Kootenai County? Something with an E, Kootenai County? On the 12th. On May the 12th. I was like, it's been a week. Like, I'm sorry. It's been a week. Like, I know that, like, maybe the family just had it, like, hush-hush or whatever. But he had, like, I think they said throat cancer. I think they said it was throat cancer. And, like, he passed away on the 12th. And, like, I just really figured with as much as he's, like, on the news and stuff, that this would have been, like, more of a story. And, I mean, it's like, hitting the news now. So maybe it's just the family, like, held it back. But almost a week, y'all. Like, I'm low-key impressed. He was the investigator for OJ's case. See, that's why when Law and Crime reached out to me to talk to them about the OJ Simpson case, I declined because I don't know shit about the OJ Simpson case. No idea. I was like, I have no idea about this. I'm good. Go ask somebody else. 10 more gifted memberships. Holy shit. Are you sure you're not sitting on your phone? Are you butt gifting? That's a lot. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I can tell. I appreciate that. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. All those gifted memberships. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I didn't know anything about, like, I don't know anything about the OJ Simpson case. I know a lot of people want us to look at it just because it's like a famous case, and maybe one day we will, but I don't know. But I'm just shocked. I think that was just like, it was more of a shock factor because it's been a week. I don't know. It was just odd. Okay. Update number 2. I guess actually technically update number 3. When it comes to the libel, slander, and assault lawsuit that was filed against Ryan Upchurch by Kylie Rodney's father and grandfather, $17.5 million verdict, y'all. $17.5 million. I think the original amount that they had asked for was $10 million. And it was granted for $17.5 million. Now, I was checking for all of the, I actually didn't even get the chance to check Pacer today. No, they don't even have anything yet. No. It shows it was updated yesterday, but they don't have the actual, like, paper here yet. But I've been waiting because it was supposed to have ended the 15th. And then today, it still went on today. See right here, trial will resume May 18th. So something else, I guess they just finished up the opinion and stuff today, but they don't have the official ruling posted yet. This is coming from a local newspaper. I want to know if this guy was in there. I'm going to message this Caleb Wethington person and just ask, like, were you in there for the thing? Or did you get to watch it? Or like what? Because I could not find anyone. I could not find anyone that was covering this case. Like Steve Fisher was supposed to have testified, and I'm sure that he did, but he hasn't said anything about it on his Twitter account, and he usually has he usually does. He's still friends with Kylie's grandpa. What's his face? Doug Bishop came out and said something on Facebook, but Doug Bishop got a Hellcat. Doug Bishop's not paying attention to like the situation that happened here. What Ryan Upchurch did was stupid, because he's egotistical and doesn't know how to shut the hell up. And that's what he made his money on, being this big loudmouth with an attitude. So he thinks that he can just continue his everyday life that way. That's why his baby mama now left him and he has custody problems and he's got all this drama going on because he's insane and he doesn't know how to stop doing these things to himself. He went around telling everyone that Kylie wasn't a real person and then drugged this girl named Callie Ross into it, saying that Callie Ross was really Kylie and that Callie Ross's dad was really Kylie's grandfather, and she ended up testifying in court too. I really want the testimonies. I'd love to know about the rest of it. Doxed Kylie's father's information all over the internet. He had all his little Creek Squad people going after him, on top of like giving the money for them finding her. But she's fake. Like it was just the weirdest little roller coaster, and he just wouldn't stop. And that's really like where it went overboard, because he like apologized or like took back the whole she's not real thing and then like doubled down not soon after. Like he just kept on going, and that's what got him, is that he wouldn't stop. Now I know that there's a bunch of questions here, but whatever Ryan was doing wasn't helping anything. Whatever Ryan was doing was just giving attention to Ryan. It wasn't giving attention to anything else. He turned it into his own drama and literally never went back to Kylie. And one of the reasons why I was really hoping this case would go to this regardless is because I was hoping at least he would use something in this to try to get some sort of discovery in her death, because the entire case is revolving around her. Is she real? Is she not? Okay, well, if she's not real, like I'm saying, then freaking prove to me that she's real. Produce to me all these records, blah, 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 whatever. Like I expected for him to at least fight the fight, and it doesn't look like he did. When we went through everything that was being asked for, it was all financial records, psych records. Like it had nothing to do at all with Kylie's case. So I instantly knew, like, you dug yourself into this hole and you really have no intention on getting any information, because he could have had his lawyers fight for some sort of discovery and he didn't. So it is what it is, and he gets what he gets. And that's just what it is. And that's just what it is. There's a lot of stuff going on. He's got a lot of crazy shit happening. Now, this $17.5 million will never be paid. I mean, he's got money, but he doesn't have pay this and survive money. Not with everything else that he's got going on, which really sucks, because he really did build himself a nice empire. Like he really did put himself in a really nice position, but he just didn't know when to stop. He just didn't know when to stop. So we'll see when the paperwork comes out, and we'll go over the paperwork. But yeah, they don't have anything. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow they'll finally have something. Where'd I put the book? Okay. Hey, Gloria. Hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member. And again, so much corruption. Thank you so much for those gifted memberships. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of those who got those. That's awesome. Yeah, EWU does a lot. They have a lot of channels. They're not somebody who's going to put their opinion out there. They just go and get records. They like produce body cam and like do investigation type stuff, but I don't really think that they're like an opinion based thing. It's more just like body cam, courtroom stuff, like all the actual factual things. You know what I mean? And they have bazillions. bazillions of followers. Just on YouTube, it's like, I think together, every single one of their channels together, it's probably like 15 million. If not more than that, from the ones that I saw. There could be more that I haven't seen yet. But they have a lot. Yeah. It's like body cam. Crazy stuff. Not just like regular cases like, somebody, has a speeding ticket or some dumb shit. It's got like details to it. Crazy stuff. Okay. Get on with chapter 7. I don't think this one's going to be very long. Because the last one, was 6 hours dealing with that damn interview. Now, chapter 8, I'm pretty positive, does go into Bethany's interview. Yeah. So for our next chapter review, which will be tomorrow night, we'll be listening to Bethany's interview. So it'll be a little bit longer. So we're going to keep this one a little bit shorter. Okay. So this one's just called Rage Kill, Lurid Dreams, and Detective Gooch. Like, his titles are wild. Just saying. Oh, let's see. He has a bunch of terms and things in here. I guess I can kind of read like this one paragraph just sort of has like the majority of all of the terms that he feels are like the important ones when it comes to specifics. So I'll read this portion because he calls this like the legal jargon, which it makes some sense that it's just all put together. The accused, of course, would be Bryan Kohberger, who through due process was also determined to be the guilty. He was indicted by a grand jury at the direction of a prosecutor, and this means they're italicized, based on admissible evidence that was both material and circumstantial, pursuant to a search warrant executed on various homes and properties. Kohberger was arrested and read a Miranda warning, confronted with probable cause, assigned a public defender, and held without bond until he changed his plea to guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. I don't know why he did all of these like this, without the possibility of parole. Throughout the process, a judge ruled on a broad spectrum of motions, navigating investigative vehicles that ranged from subpoenas to affidavits, sworn out by affiance to writs of habeas corpus seeking extradition within rules of criminal procedure. Throughout this process, attorneys hired expert witnesses who submitted analyses. Is it analyses or analyses? Analyses sounds stupid, but that's how it looks. Is it analyses or analyses? Anybody know? I really think that it's, I don't know, but it sounds like analyses is better. Does anybody know? I'm still looking like, I don't know. Okay, let's continue. It just looks funny. From everything from blood spatter and autopsy and toxicology reports to witness statements, surveillance logs, social media postings, Google search histories, and chain of custody forms. Yeah, I don't know. No, like for analysis, but like the plural. Not analyze. No, I mean like analysis. Like that's their analysis, but like the plural. Yeah, like that. But how is it said? Is it said analysis or just like analysis? I guess it's regular like analysis, right? It's the same. It is the plural. Okay. See, sometimes I look at words and I like really question the word. Like if you say like a certain word over and over and over and over and over in your head, after about like the first like 15, 17, 18-ish seconds, it starts to sound foreign. And then you start to like kind of question it. Like I do that a lot. I probably shouldn't. It's probably part of my freaking ADHD that I all of a sudden have. But I find myself doing that a lot. Okay, so right here I got really aggravated because he put in here that Kohberger's Hyundai was a 2017. And as you can see on the side, I said, I'm so sick of this MFer. Because why are you putting that? It's a 2017. That's so crazy. So then he goes down here and he starts talking about bloodstains in the common area, but then there being the very heavily diluted blood on Xana's door, and how Sutton said something about how it could have been from like saliva, and there's just no way that there could have been enough produced in order for there to be the amount of dilution that we see. There's just no way. I could see that for like little spots, but for as ridiculously bloody as her door was, there's just absolutely no way. He says, we can stipulate that Officer Noon's initial report differs from what his body camera shows because Ethan did not take his own life. And again, we can't see that. We can't hear what's being said on the body cam where that's being stated. But we do know out of context that it is something that's discussed after the fact for like quite a while, because we can see it we can hear them talking about it in Morris's cameras. Like the guys that are at the front entry door, they all talk about it for a while. Okay, so then he starts talking about the motions in limine, and he talks about just a few of them. So I guess I could pop these up on the screen. This first one that he mentions is motion in limine number 4 regarding calling Kohberger a psychopath at trial. Now, my thing with this is that as far as we were like under the impression, all of his testing came back that he technically was not a psychopath. Because if he was clinically a psychopath and they had all this testing and stuff done, then they could call him that. Because it would go towards a reasoning that the state could use in order to say that he did this because he's a psychopath. But they won that argument, and it was said that that term could not be used. And here's my thing with that. When it came to like everything being done and over with, Bill Thompson was asked if Bryan was a psychopath. Because at that point, like everything that y'all have fought to have put in trial is not going to trial. Your fights, all these motions in limine, all these things that you said that you were going to be including, all the things that were going to be excluded, those things no longer matter. Everything that y'all did to get ready for trial is now null and void. As far as we understand, he never tested for psychopathy. So I don't know if he can see. Okay, so Chris Whitcomb thinks that this motion in limine was silly. And he thinks that Judge Hippler also thought that they were silly motions. Like the one about psychopath. The judge called it one time? I guess I just don't remember. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Judge Hippler did a lot of things that he wasn't supposed to have done. See, and when it, like, we don't have, I'm trying to find if we have any actual files for this. I mean, they were all kind of skinny. Neurological, psychological evidence. Yeah, like they really, this one right here, let me open the screen. This one right here is the one I think that they, was it this one? Yeah. I think this is the one they put the most information in when it comes to like his ADHD. I mean, his autism, his OCD, his coordination disorder. But they like tested him for stuff, and he didn't test as a psychopath. He has other things. So I don't see it being a silly fight. Like, I don't see it being a silly motion to be filed if the stance, which I do agree with, is that whoever is responsible for doing something so freaking disgusting is a damn psychopath. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Whoever was capable of any part of the situation that took place here is a freaking psycho. Okay? But when they have testing that says that the suspect, the one that is going to be put on trial, possibly put to death, no, you're not allowed to say that he's a psychopath because by definition, exactly, he's not. By definition, he's not. So no, Chris Whitcomb, I don't think that filing this motion is as silly as you obviously think that it is. Because he's not staring oddly or staring with eyes that might look a little bit more wide because he's a psychopath staring into your soul. He's doing it because he has freaking autism. So yes, it matters. Like, damn, it matters. And then he talks about motion number 6. Motion in limine number 6. I'm pretty sure this is about the DNA being described as touch DNA. This was also not a silly motion. This was a very important one because the word touch, like the term touch DNA, would make one who doesn't know better believe you have to touch it in order for your DNA to be left on something. And that's not technically true. Transfer DNA even technically has that sort of stigma to it because I touch a box of cereal on the Walmart aisle. Let's go to my go-to. I touch a box of cereal on the Walmart aisle, and then the person behind me comes and touches that same box of cereal and takes it home. Well, then let's say their kid goes to take that box of cereal and makes some cereal and puts the cereal up, and they're home alone, and somebody breaks in and does some crazy shit, and something happens to the kid, and here comes the cops. Well, the kid has my DNA on his freaking hands all of a sudden because his parents touched the damn box of cereal and brought it home that I had in my hands, that I was turning over, that I was reading, but then I decided against and put back. Transfer DNA. It can get there even if you've never even been in the room. There's a video that I think that we've gone over before here on the channel about people in a room being told to touch certain things and not touch certain things, and a barista's husband's DNA transfer being on somebody else's wife that was also in the experiment, and those two didn't even know each other existed. DNA, you literally are breathing in DNA everywhere you are. If you work in an office, you walk into a Walmart, any sort of store, you're not breathing in just the air. You're breathing in dead skin cells. Microscopic, obviously, but you're sniffing everybody up in your brain, okay? Like, you literally carry all kinds of nasty all over you, including DNA. So no, this was also not a silly fight. It was very important, considering that you cannot figure out by testing how DNA got there. You can't do anything that will give any sort of definition to placement, to how long it's been there, or anything else. You can't. Not to a certain extent, you can't. You can take guesses, but it's all estimation. So no, this was definitely not a silly motion. This one was definitely needed because what they found was literally minute, almost non-existent bullshit. And it's still just so freaking amazing to me how they took little bitty nothing and got it to be amplified for testing levels, but they act like they can't do the same thing with so many of these other unknown DNA samples. Amazing how it only works when they want it to work, right? It only works when they want it to work. Let's see. Oh, that's another thing. Like, I know that a lot of people probably don't want to do this. I want to do this. Not the whole hearings, like not all of the hearings, but when it comes to like evidence hearings, evidentiary hearings, and then like expert testimony hearings where like Becca Barlow, Lisa Larkin, Cy Ray, where they went up and testified, I want to go back through some of their testimony. Like, I know it's not everything, especially stuff from like Latah County and going to be nowhere near the kind of information that we have now. But I'd like to go back over some of that stuff. Okay. It just goes into talk about how they tried to run it through CODIS and there was no matches for anything. It has a section in here from, is this Becca's report? Okay. So it goes on to, okay, no. Okay, yeah, it has pieces in here from Becca's report. And it says here, it's possible the DNA detected on 2022-4843 item 1.1, which is swab of front strap. That's the verbiage for it. Resulted from secondary transfer. However, based on Nowlin's training and expertise, it is her opinion, given the quantity of DNA detected, which was the 0.0168 nanograms, which is again nothing. Literally nothing. We did an entire forensic breakdown of just how much DNA that actually is. We went through the calculations that they would have had to have used to magnify it based on the documents that we have showing the DNA work from how they came up with their, so say, male profile that they created. We went through all of it. It was nothing. It was so beyond like nothing. They barely even had enough to get it where they needed. Literally at all. Barely had enough to get it where they needed. And then she's got the part in here where she's bringing up trace DNA. The authors introduced the concept of trace DNA, defined DNA that cannot yet be attributed to an identifiable body fluid. The author rejects the term touch DNA as misleading, as such a term infers that the DNA recovered from a surface got there via the surface being touched, but this is usually not known exactly, because it would give the exact impression to the jury that Kohberger would have had to touch the knife sheath. And you can't prove that with the amount of DNA in there. You can't. Especially with everything else considering, you can't. So then he has motion 7 for the damn bushy eyebrows. I cannot believe that this was even a thing in here, knowing that Dylan said she did not remember his eyebrows. And the crazy part is that this shit was denied. Denied. I mean, all of these, they didn't hardly win like anything at all. I think there was maybe like, I don't know, 1 or 2 little bitty things that maybe went in their favor, but it was really like nothing. It was really nothing. I just don't get how they allowed this. It's so insane. So there's pieces in here that Mossad had said about the eyebrows. We're going to read that. On November 13th, 2022, Dylan was inside the house when the murders occurred and saw a figure dressed in black. When she peeked out of her bedroom door at 4 a.m., shortly after seeing the intruder, she went downstairs to Bethany's room. The 2 girls fell asleep. Like, she's summarizing what Dylan's story basically was, is what this is. Roughly 8 hours later, a 911 call was made from Bethany's phone at 11:56 a.m., more than 8 hours after seeing the intruder. Dylan was interviewed by law enforcement at the scene and at the police department. It said, she's putting in here, when describing the intruder to Officer Nunes at the scene, she described the height, build, and clothing of the intruder. Her description did not mention eyebrows. She also said taller or shorter. She wasn't sure. And that's the last time shorter was ever mentioned, because Nunes just said, so 6 feet, and they ran with it. So if he wouldn't have done that, and that would have continued on with taller or shorter because she honestly doesn't know, then where would we be right now? Instead, it was completely manipulated by that officer's response. And then it goes on to the next portion of the report, and it says, later, when she was interviewed at the police department, Detective Mowry inquired about facial features and asked Dylan if she knew what color the intruder's eyes were. But that's not how that question went. Was it? I don't remember that question. I remember, do you remember his eyebrows? I remember it being directly eyebrows. See, now I do have to go pull it up because I know damn well that he asked specifically about eyebrows. And she said, I don't remember his eyes either. Yeah, I'm going to pull it up right now.
All black. He's wearing some masks. He just lets his black. I'm thinking that it probably was, but I was just in and out of it. So I was so tired.
You say this.
Like it was cylinder like this, and then it went straight out and then in. So I don't. Maybe
Almost like
the eyebrows.
Okay. So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay.
See, so I guess Masoth just had that wrong, and we didn't know that this was asked then, or else we would have caught it then. That Masoth has this portion wrong in here, because this is from Masoth's report about him asking if Dylan knew what color the intruder's eyes were, and that's not it.
Okay.
They're talking about right here.
So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they're talking about this one because they're talking about when she's talking to Nunes, and then when she goes and talks to Mowry down here. So no, it's this one. Everything was kind of blurry, like I don't remember it. During the Mowry interview, Dylan mentions that she was in and out because she was so tired. And then it goes down to the November 17th, 2022 interview that we went over. And it's talking about 4 days later, Dylan was interviewed by Detective Gooch and indicated that she was really asleep and probably very drunk when she woke up around 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. Miss me with the dumb shit. Throughout the interview, Dylan expressed uncertainty about what she heard and saw and did not know if it was real or if it was a dream or if her mind was playing with her. Exactly what's so annoying, because she doesn't have any of those, I don't know if it was real or not, I don't know if my mind's playing tricks on me bullshit until then. So ridiculous. So then it goes down and talks about how law enforcement took pictures of Dylan's room on November 13th. These are the reports where we found out about there being photos of girls and drawings of people and eyeballs and like eyebrows and stuff like that. That was puffy and bushy. And then she also said something about how that she only saw one eyebrow. And we're like, what the hell is this girl on? And then she said that she didn't know how he was white. She just knew he was white. So then we questioned even further what this chick was smoking, because what are you talking about? And then he just looked at me. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me. I knew he was white. I didn't know how he was white. He had one big old puffy ass eyebrow. So then when the rumors started like coming back out from the beginning of the case, where people were saying that she was actually like on acid or some shit, which again is a rumor that was going around, and people had sent people emails that apparently know her, that live in that area, that heard the rumors and all this other bullshit, that she was on some sort of hallucinogenic. She was on something. She wasn't drinking. It was something else that made her whatever. So then we were thinking, okay, maybe she was just out of it on some pill or on something. And as she's maybe like hearing stuff, maybe she's hearing what's going on. This was our original thoughts on that whole thing. And maybe she's hearing what's going on, but she's in her room. She's got her white walls. She's out of her mind. She's got these photos of bushy eyebrows and puffy eyebrows all over her room. Maybe she's putting that with Xana being in all black earlier in the day during the whites party. And her mind really is just like playing tricks with her. Like we were willing to give that little bit of a benefit of a doubt if she would like admit to have been on something, and she's acting like, oh, you know, just like you took a couple sips here and you had a little 5% there. Like, obviously, girl, you didn't do much of nothing. Turns out it's like what, almost 4 hours in between her last drink and the time everything started happening. Girl was nowhere near even buzzed, especially if she took a little nappy nap. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So this is where they talk about it. On the walls in her room were many pictures of eyes with prominent eyebrows, many of which she had drawn. Some of the eyebrows were heavy, voluminous, puffy, or perhaps subjectively bushy. According to Detective Lake, he found artwork of human figures with an emphasis upon the eyes and eyebrows that were pinned to corkboards. Now, he does mention in here, which is good because we noticed this, that kind of just seems to be the theme throughout the house a little bit. Because there's some pictures sort of like that on the second floor bathroom, which would make sense because that would have been half of Dylan's bathroom too. Like she was sharing it with Xana. So it would make sense for her to have some of her own stuff in there that matches her own decor or whatever. I didn't understand why they felt the need to redact it. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember? Why are we talking about him? Why? We need to do an update. We need to do an update on him and Magnolia. Like, I know that they had the 3-year protective order, whatever. Plunder put out a bunch of body cam, a bunch of calls. Like, I've seen it in snippets. But we should probably take a day, one of these days, and just go over it. Because there's a lot of shit going on. Like, he's got court dates and stuff that he's going to. There's some sort of a warrant for his arrest, I think, in Florida. Something's going on. And then there's also something in Arizona shaken, and somebody in another state filed something else against him. Like, there's a lot going on in JLR camp. A lot. He is. He's a freaking weirdo. He's something else for sure. See, that's a good question. Who asks about the color of eyebrows? That's definitely not the thing that you would think, right? Like, it would definitely be more like color of your eyes. For sure. I mean, he is about a lot, but no, in this, it's talking about the report that Massoth wrote for the bushy eyebrows. See, at the time that these motions were coming out and all this information was coming out, we didn't know any of this. So we couldn't stop. Like, we couldn't be like, hold on, she's got it wrong. Because we didn't know the interviews. We hadn't heard any of it. But we also need to remember that there was also those white, like, tapestry, big material pieces of art things that they had in there that were just like black lined, and they had like faces and stuff on them too. So it just seems like they kind of just had it everywhere. So the next portion of Massoth's report that he puts in here is when the Manson-Biggers balancing test is applied to the facts of this case, there is no reliable witness identification. As explained in detail above, Dylan's opportunity to view was seconds at most. Her attention was influenced by alcohol, but not really. I said not really. And sleepiness, and only identifying attributes are height in relation to her own. And honestly, you can't even go off of that because there's that step right there. to go into the living room. So depending, like, she's not really, I guess, really very clear about where the person she's claiming to have seen was, but I'm going to assume it would have been already past that step. Maybe. A skinny athletic build and a bushy eyebrow. A bushy eyebrow. Uno eyebrow. Okay. These general descriptors could fit millions of individuals. Yeah, especially if you consider the taller and shorter part of her stuff. Now, this is what I said. Remember how we've talked about this a million times. Girl, I don't give a shit if you remember his eyes or his damn eyebrows. You didn't see that nose? He has a very prominent nose, very deep set eye sockets, a brow bone that is very prominent, and a very prominent nose. So even if you didn't recognize his eyes, and you're telling us that that part of his face was out there, you saw Bryan's face the day they arrested him, and you did not have an inkling of a memory. The nose would have been recognizable. And I'm glad that Whitcomb actually admits that in here. It says Kohberger had a considerable number of identifying features and distinguished him from the potential suspects. His height and weight would not necessarily have singled him out, but his nose might have. If Mortensen saw only one eyebrow, it was likely because his head was turned, meaning he appeared in profile. Even though Judge Hippler's ruling, it seems plausible that Ann Taylor could have refuted Mortensen's identification based on his profile alone. Either way, side profile, face to face, if that's the face you saw, even if you only saw that and the nose, like, you would at least have some sort of like recognition. And she had nothing, which tells me that the person's face that she saw, if she saw one at all, did not even resemble closely what Kohberger's face looks like. Or there would be at least a little bit of doubt in her head. And she's just straight up, no, don't recognize him. Nope. That's crazy. Her uncertainty is repeated in each interview, and at least 8 hours passed before she interviewed the first time. 6 weeks passed before she was interviewed by law enforcement, and the final time, and 6 months passed when she testified before the grand jury. We also don't know how many times the FBI talked to her, so there's that too. Balancing the Manson-Biggers factors, there is no reliability of the physical characteristics that DM has reported. There is great risk that at trial in front of a jury, her testimony will be viewed as a clear identification of Mr. Kohberger. This would be a false identification and would prejudice the proceedings in a way that must be avoided. Yeah. It definitely was not a silly motion, because that's not what she said she saw. Not what she said she saw. And he's right here too, because everything that Ann, this is where, like, I know that Ann Taylor tried to an extent, but I can also sit here and say that I know that she didn't fight the fights that we know she could have fought based off of what we see in the public. And that's nothing compared to what she saw behind closed doors. So I don't know if these got denied because they were just badly fought, or if regardless of what was fought, everything would have been denied, which is honestly how I feel it probably would have been, really. Because Hippler came into this case not giving a shit. Hippler came into this smart-assed. That set the tone. His opening statement that day, I mean, like, if there was, if you could write a better opening for the entire, how do I put this? Theme, I guess. I mean, I don't really, the entire attitude, the entire emotion, the entire aura, everything, ambiance, all of it. It was that opening statement. When he comes in and he's just like, well, I wish I could say I was happy to be here. Go home. Go home. Mr. Borden can't keep your head up. Mr. Can't even keep your eyes open. Like, go home. He set up the entire thing to just feel, Because that's how it was until the very end. Exactly how he started it. So again, I don't know why he suddenly puts Lakeland's interview stuff in here, because he doesn't really say anything about it. Which he did this with Molly's, like a couple chapters back. He just cuts off his paragraph, puts in the freaking report, and then goes on about a different subject after the report. And all he did, like, he puts the whole thing in here. It takes up several pages. And then his next sentence is, though statements by McComas and others helped police build victimologies and timelines, they added up to little more than circumstantial composite to the case. And that's it. He doesn't mention another thing about it. There's so much to be said about picture of clothes on the floor girl. So I don't know why he put that in there, but okay. Now, right here is an odd statement because this is kind of like the opposite of everything that we've been told, okay? Paulette Sutton and Dr. Turvey agree on almost nothing about what the evidence shows. You see that? That is literally the opposite of what Turvey has said. Turvey has come out and said, she literally agrees with me on everything that I said in my report. The only thing that she added was this, how did he put it? Cockamamie theory that the guy was naked. I think that's how he put it. So I don't know why. So the exact opposite is in this book, but that's exactly what Turvey said. That she agreed with everything minus the fact she thinks that the explanation is that Kohberger was freaking naked, which is the dumbest shit. And then it goes into, okay, so this is where there's like quotes from the interview. So we're going to do like before where I'm just like reading what Turvey said to him. Immediately, he knew that there was issues. The second he started looking at everything, he said immediately he had broader doubts about the case. Broader doubts included the manner in which Kaylee and Maddie were killed. The wounds were disproportionate. They were oddly symmetrical, and he believes they could not have been caused by one knife. Turvey felt certain that the bodies had also been posed. Now, he was very specific in an interview. I think it was on the Custody Queen's interview. He said it was like a single-edged weapon, like a K-bar, and then another blade, more like a dagger, that has the blade on both sides of the sharp on both sides of the blade, and then a blunt force object. So that would be 3. That would be 3. Once you look at the knife and you just sort of back out, you can see one of the victim's heads, and what he means here is the sheath, because we know that there was not a knife on the bed, that it was a sheath. And you sort of back out, you can see one of the victim's heads was all bloody, and her pillow was all bloody. This would be Kaylee's pillow. But the two did not match as police found them. Kaylee's head had been moved after all of the blood soaking ended, meaning after she was dead. And then one body was moved on top of the other. Kaylee on top of Maddie's right arm as if they were cuddling. And then the sheet, of course, had been drawn over them. And remember, we asked that. We asked why. Welcome, Lucid. Welcome back, Lucid. Thank you for joining. Thank you. I'm going to pull the picture up and give it a second for it to load. But I'm going to go ahead and get these open. Because this is one of the first things that we noticed when, was it the mainstream media photos, guys? I think it might have been the mainstream media photos came out. We got a glimpse of Kaylee's pillow. I think it went that far back. I remember having this question before we had the big 120/26 drop, which again, when I'm saying I'm pulling up photos, for those who don't know, because I didn't make it clear until a couple of days ago when we were trying to figure out where a picture was. When I'm pulling up photos, I'm always going to start with the 120/26 drop of photos, because those were the ones that were of the knife sheath and whatnot. And had a lot more of the come on, where's it at? There it is. A lot more of the crime scene in it. So I always end up going to this pool first. But I am going to look here in the drive real quick and see. if this was one of the ones that we had from mainstream, because I think it was. I think this one. Like, I know that we ended up getting some photos. Oh, come on, load, you stupid thing. It's being slow. Okay, let me open this. This is the ones that we grabbed from mainstream as best as we could for how they were placing them. See, that's Murphy underneath Kaylee's chair, scared to death. See, this is the one where we were questioning, like, is this actually Ethan or not? Because we were told his legs were hanging off of the bed because he was so tall, but his socks are like right here. Like right here. But he's in these photos. They're in these photos. The victims are in these pictures. I could have sworn we had one that showed the pillow. Did we not get one from them? No, I guess not. Weird. I could have sworn we did. Well, we have these. So let me see where this specific picture is. Because I want to show y'all the pillow while we're discussing it. Because that's, again, that was a question we had. When we finally saw the pillow and we saw that there was like a spot in the middle of where the blood was, it just didn't look right. And then I'm like, why is her head not there? Because the pictures that we do have with the girls in the photos, you can see the freaking pillow. And that shouldn't make no sense. That shouldn't make no sense. These are the only ones right here. Hold on. I'll get back up to the bed. Watch your eyeballs. I'll get back up to the front of this section up here. Oh, come on. Like, I know we have one that shows the pillow. Okay. See this? Right here? This is where her head was supposed to be. It's obvious her head was there. There's even like pieces that look like hair on this edge of this blood stain. Okay. So she was laying here at some point while she was bleeding out. And then after, at some point, she gets moved on top of Maddie. And again, to look like they're cuddling. So that would mean that Kaylee was facing towards Maddie not the wall. And I think they said something about one of her arms was sort of like tucked underneath her chin a little bit. So maybe it was like this. And then I don't remember what they said her arm was doing. See? That's the edge of it. And they're this way. So after she bled out on the pillow, her body was then moved over on top of Kaylee, posed. And that right there being where obviously her head was as she was bleeding, and her obviously not being on the pillow, is definitely a ginormous indicator that her body had been moved. For sure. Thank you for the 5 Aunt Boo Boo. No blankets have holes, so if they were killed in bed, the killer uncovered them, covered them again. Makes no sense, and people still say they were asleep. I know that there's a lot of blood on the sheet. I mean, it seems to me like it's possible that the injuries happened in the bed, because like that's a lot of blood on the bed. There's a lot of blood on the bottom sheet. We don't really get to see all of it. But yeah, like there's not hardly anything at all on top of the blanket. Now there's blood on top of the blanket. See right here how there's spots still. Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure it's off the screen. See how there's spots, but they're so tiny. So like the majority of it, like see right here, like this is all like on top of the blanket. So I don't know if there's no holes in certain spots of the blanket, because we're not able to see all of it. Like I know we're not seeing any like down here, but there's still like blood down here. There's that paw print. There's 2 paw prints. Look right here and right here. See, like, yeah, because there's like little blood spots all the way down to the bottom, but like small. And like even on the pillow right here, like small, tiny. But then you get like glimpses again, like over here. Can y'all see that? No, I'm in the damn way. Of course I am. See? Like this right here. And now apparently where Kaylee was, which again, I mean, the way that it's really more like the way that the wounds are being described is what's difficult to me. And look, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the clip where Chris Whitcomb says this, because he says this. He says that the wounds to the neck are almost as if it was from behind. And he describes like leverage. And there's like no way that a person can get the angle in which the girls were cut from cutting them in the front. So the person would almost have had to have been behind them when the wounds to the neck happened. But he's claiming that they're post-mortem. Turvey's saying that they're post-mortem wounds to the neck. So, I mean, yeah, you can still, bleed after you are no longer having a beating heart, because if, you still have blood pumping through you and then there's an injury and you're sitting up, gravity is just going to do what gravity does. That's why you put a deer upside down over a bucket. Okay. There's reasons. You're still going to bleed, even if your heart's not bleeding, not beating anymore. So I don't know if we're supposed to think that like she was sat up after the fact and then that happened to her, but then we don't know if that's the same case for Maddie. It's just the way that he described it. But again, it's just one person who has seen a lot of just everywhere information. So I don't know, but it's the fact that it's 2 cuts, 2 under the neck in the exact same fashion, and then 2 off to the left shoulder, exactly the same. Those are the ones I said I want photos of. I want photos of the wounds on the shoulder and of Ethan's hand, and the way that it looked at the scene when they photographed his hand at the scene holding onto the hair. And I want the autopsy photos after they cleaned the wounds and did whatever they did with the hand before they took whatever out of it. Like I want those very specific pictures. Because I think that would maybe help us understand what they're trying to say in way of these wounds here, especially since they're saying that they're identical. That it's like a mark. It's like a statement the way that they were handled, especially if every single one of the neck and the shoulder wounds that they're talking about were after death. I just don't understand how they would have ever thought that this would have gone to trial and they would have produced proof that after the fact the girls were posed and there were wounds and experimental things that happened after death, and still say that it's the one man that they are going to try to say was in that house for all of 5 minutes. I just don't know how the hell they really thought that was going to fly. I just don't. It is so dumbfounding. Well, see, he said the word signature like the first maybe like 2 interviews, and then he said he wasn't going to use the word anymore because it was giving it a nuance that it wasn't, apparently, or something like that. But I'm like, but if it's double and it's both post-mortem, sounds like a freaking signature to me. Like, maybe you don't want to put the importance on it, but you already put it out there, and now it's being described by Turvey the same way, so maybe it needs to have that importance. Maybe it needs to have that sort of importance, because that's what it sounds like. So then they talk about the liquid blood on the comforter and how it can stay liquid, and this is where they start talking about environmental factors like the sliding door being open, the possibility of the front door being open because of what the neighbor claimed. But then we also need to remember that the officers told us that not only was Kaylee's door open, but the balcony in Kaylee's room was also slightly open. And I think that that's maybe one reason why Dylan kept trying to say some weird shit about somebody scaling a wall or jumping from that high, because it didn't make sense because of how far the step off was or the drop off was or some shit like that. I think because she knew Kaylee's door was open. So she was trying to bring that into her discussion for some freaking reason. But I don't think he mentions that here. Let me see. Does he mention that in here? Okay, environmental factors like illumination, precipitation, ambient temperature. The kitchen door is supposedly left open for 8 hours with snow on the ground, for example, creating questions about what it was tracked in or out. Darkness would have been an issue for anyone sneaking around through the bushes. And then it talks about the weather being 28 degrees outside. The thermometer was set to 69. It talks about the footage from 11/12 showing that it was pretty like crisp and clear, just sort of like wet, cold, crisp, clear weather. The temperature and humidity inside the house played a factor in how quickly Kaylee's blood dried on the comforter. Just because police may have skipped over important clues does not mean that we have to. And then it says, according to Officer New's body camera, witness statements, and published reports, the sliding glass door on the second floor of 1122 was found wide open. That's the kitchen one. There's the thermostat. The main door downstairs, witnessed opened by Justin Nadeau. The heat would have been running nonstop with these doors open, making the third floor where the police found Maddie and Kaylee unbearably hot. And that appears not to have been the case because neither Nunes nor Warner mentioned anything about the temperature of the house. Well, again, that's because Kaylee's door was open and the balcony was open. So there was like a flow through completely that entire house. So then he says, let's stick with the bodies and what they tell us about the crimes, suggesting that higher temperatures would have made the blood dry faster, but there were no higher temperatures. It wasn't hot in the house. At least for now, it's natural for all these questions to come rushing in with a case where it's also complex, but we will come back to that later. This part right here was interesting because he says Turvey likes to look at things macroscopically before zeroing in, and he calls this coarse graining. I find that interesting considering that during the interview he kept saying stuff like, people need to stop trying to focus on the granular issue. Granular details. So if you can, why can't we? And again, Chris Whitcomb could be putting it in here incorrectly. But when I saw that, I instantly went to him. People always want to focus on the granular detail. Yeah. What's wrong with that? If that's what you do, what's the problem? Based on timeline and logic, this has to be the first place the crime occurred, meaning the third floor where Maddie and Kaylee were. They were attacked and stabbed to death right next to each other. That much is obvious. But the idea that one woman is violently attacked and killed while the other is sleeping, that she doesn't wake up and do anything, doesn't fight back, doesn't even respond, that's nonsense. These two women were right on top of each other in a small bed, and it's obvious that neither of them ever left the bed. Is it, though? Can you say that? I just don't really know. Like, Ethan having on clean white socks don't really mean shit to me. Well, if they're like dirty and they have like impressions from him having shoes on all night or whatever, then maybe. But feet can be washed, socks can be changed, clothes can be changed. I mean, it's pretty obvious clothes weren't changed because everybody's clothes were freaking bloody as hell, and Ethan was naked besides the socks. But the blood disbursement in that house makes no sense. The blood disbursement in that house makes zero sense. Like I'm really just trying to like how the hell could certain things have gotten to these certain places? Everything that we were told about the noise and and who's here, someone's here, and the up and the down. But then again, that's just stuff that like muddies things, because that's the words of someone that we can't even trust. Like, it would be different if both of the girls had the same story. But the one thing that Bethany heard and claimed to have seen, Dylan didn't. And all of the things that Dylan is claiming to have seen and heard, Bethany didn't. That makes it thousands of times worse. Thousands of times worse. Kaylee was asphyxiated to the point where blood vessels burst in her eyes and lips. Then she was severely beaten before being and cut dozens of times. Maddie never woke up. We're supposed to believe one killer smothered and beat and hacked at Kaylee while somehow dealing with Maddie too. There has to be a second person involved. That's what I said. Or more. I just feel like these things happen simultaneously. That's the only thing that explains the timing, the amount of people it would take to have maybe attempted a half-assed cleanup, more than one. Because how is there no blood outside of the rooms on the floor? The third floor has no blood anywhere besides the railing. There's no specks down the stairs. There's no specks on the landing. And then you get to Dylan's door and there's a weird spot, like right before you get to Dylan's room. Weird spot, high the frick up on the wall. Weird as shit. One little spot in the kitchen right by the sink. But nothing in the hallway. Nothing on the kitchen floor that leads to the damn slider. No blood outside on the concrete. No little bloody specks that were left in the snow. There's no bloody footprints. There's nothing. And again, the canines came out and could not find a blood trail outside. Could not find a blood trail outside. Everything that they are assuming, they're assuming from the 11-12 cameras and seeing reflections of lights and assuming that it means that that's the killer's car. It's all guesswork, which is mainly what police work is. But it's guesswork with no concrete proof. Guesswork with no concrete proof. So once they get out of that room, they go down the stairs to the second floor. And where do they end up? Where do they arrive? In the kitchen? What happens when they get there? Again, this is him assuming. Noon's body cam shows that the killer or killers would have turned left, moving out of Mogen's room, taking 4 or 5 steps before turning left again and walking down the fold back stairs. It's plausible to think the killer would have stopped at Dylan's room when he got down to the second floor, especially if she heard him and got up to open the door as she has stated. And then it says, according to Bill Thompson, that's not what happened. So they're saying, so is Turvey's narrative that Dylan would have been next, except the person saw Xana? Is that what his theory is here? Because there's no proof of that either. Like there's nothing between Kohberger and Dylan, so that doesn't work. And I do find it interesting that in Gooch's like interview, they're like, well, maybe he knew you, and that's why he was protecting you. So obviously there was an angle there. They were trying to work with her. You know, in the kitchen, you have Xana eating her food, and she's in there on TikTok. There's no proof of that. And I'll say that with my chest, bro, until they fix the damn documents. And I know that they gave us bullshit when it came to the DoorDash, and we really need to go back and talk about that by itself, because they produced what they said they had from Ethan's account with a damn receipt for 11/13. And then lo and behold, here comes Xana's information with the order time on it too. So if they only had Ethan's stuff for the motions in limine, if they only had Ethan's stuff for the self-authenticating records fight, are you trying to tell me that they both ordered at the exact same time and a race to see who got there first? I mean, how do we have a receipt from each person? Because again, they said in the freaking self-authenticating report, they didn't have anything from Xana. There was nothing from Xana. Yet we had a receipt with freaking GPS coordinates on it that literally plopped right there into the backyard of 1122. So how the frick did that happen? And I say that to say this. We're told 412 in the PCA, but then the self-authenticating records says 316. So that's not even a time zone thing. That's also off by 4 minutes. So which is it? And again, movement on TikTok doesn't mean anything. Unless it's like she posted a freaking video or posted a picture or something like that where you can actually see proof of life. Like, so what, somebody's scrolling. Who gives a single shit? You know, now they have these auto clickers you can buy. Like on TikTok, they have these little ads keep popping up for this little thing that like connects to your phone, and it just like does this clicking shit that I guess they do for like TikTok games or whatever. I always see people doing that weird stuff on the screen, like looking like crazy people. You think they don't have auto scroll? TikTok literally has auto scroll. You literally just pop and it auto scrolls for you. Being on TikTok at 412 or 316. Prove it. Also prove she was in the kitchen. When we have the plate of food, like there's a plate of food on the floor that has curly fries on it. Just because there's a bag in the kitchen doesn't really mean anything. And again, they've not released to us the damn DoorDash photo. Now, if we finally get the damn picture and it has the marker Xana written on it, I will be shocked. I have never, and let me tell you, I will embarrassingly admit that we use DoorDash more than we should. Okay. We kind of always use DoorDash. Like, we like food. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. I've never had one show up that wasn't a printed receipt. Like, literally never. Like, somebody might like sign a signature at the bottom of it to say like they're the ones who packed it and blah blah blah. But I've never had any of my DoorDash stuff show up and somebody's written my name on the bag. And we order from Jack in the Box all the time. My kid's obsessed with the damn tacos. My other kid's obsessed with the mini tacos. We do Jack in the Box a lot. Never once. Now, going inside, they used to do that a long ass time ago, but this even goes way before COVID. But getting something delivered and it's not a paper receipt that has like the print out stuff, that's weird. That's weird. Okay, then it says, I'm going to get aggravated because he's not saying that it's Turvey that says this part about the blood being on the side of the table, but he is still putting it in here without like quotes, meaning that it's Chris Whitcomb all the way on page 195 still putting in false information about the blood on the side of the table being Xana's, and it's not. So she runs down the hallway, and the killers are covered in blood. They have blood on their hands. They've got blood on their clothes. They've got blood on their faces. They have blood on their knives, whatever and other weapons they're carrying, which we don't even know because there were no weapons recovered at the scene. But she sees them, sees the weapons. She runs down the hallway towards Ethan to wake him up and get help. And then I question, why would you go down the hallway if you're in the kitchen and the sliding door is wide open? I mean, maybe your first instinct is to run to your mate, your spouse, your partner, whatever in that aspect. But if you're right there by an open door, I would hope that my brain would tell me to go out the door. And it's the same question that you can ask for Dylan. Like if you're freaking out so much and you don't know what's happening, and you know that Emily and them are just right there, and she ends up calling her anyway. But even that, like, you know, the people at 1112, like, you know, your neighbors, why don't you run out the house instead of going right past that front door? Why don't you and Bethany just meet each other and go out the freaking door and run and get help if you're so worried? Just a lot of questions about the way that things happened here. Or again, what we're being told possibly happened here. Okay, she goes towards Ethan to wake him up and get help. The offender is able to get close enough to injure her, which is why we have her blood on the living room, on the walls, and some of the horizontal surfaces. But we don't have her blood in the living room. So this portion is in parentheses. And now we have Turvey, apparently in his interview, also not working off of correct information. We do not have Xana's blood in the living room. And if we do, it's not a sample that we can say it is because none of the DNA is matched to her. What horizontal surface in the common room is Xana's blood on? As far as I can remember, it's Kaylee's on the table, an unknown on the side. That's not Xana's because the report was all screwed up. And then unknown, Kaylee and Maddie and Ethan. There's no verified Xana DNA in the common area at all. At all. And he goes on about it again. Either the offender tracking her blood back out after the murder or hold on one more time. That's either the offender tracking her blood back out after the murder in her bedroom or leaving it as he first attacked her, but it's not her blood. For all we know, it's the attacker's blood and they didn't give a shit enough to test it. Because you realize like even if they can't say like who it is, they could tell us if it's male or female. And even if it's not Xana's blood, we could still assume it was Xana's blood if they would tell us if it was female. But they can't even give us that. Or they won't. Not for stain F. I'm going to have to go into the reports and look at it and see if they have a DNA report for it. I haven't even checked. But in the reports where the stuff is written up, it doesn't say if it's male or female. So this portion of it, I can't really take too seriously. I can't really go too seriously with this. I don't know why Turvey is entertaining Xana's blood being on the table when he's fully aware, just like Chris Whitcomb is, that the reports were changed. He mentions it. They've both mentioned that the report was changed. That means that they know what was changed in the report, and that means that they know why it was changed. So I don't know why they keep doing that. This is a battle where she fights so effing hard and there's blood everywhere. She's stabbed and she's got defensive wounds and all kinds of injuries. Ethan was in bed. He never gets out of the bed. So either he never wakes up, which is almost impossible based on what's going on. Things crashing, Xana screaming. Again, with the same thing with Bethany. Like you can hear Dylan's freaking footsteps coming down the steps to open your door and greet her inside. And you can hear freaking Solo cups falling on the damn ground above your head. But you can't hear Xana fighting for her freaking life. Getting thrown around the damn room. Fighting. Like the biggest, most ridiculous fight she's ever fought. Ever. Screaming. Crying. You don't hear any of that? I don't see how. Like, that's literally impossible. to hear little bitty old solo cups and not hear stomping and running and fighting for their life? How? Selective as shit. Selective as shit. Either he doesn't wake up or the other offender gets in there, holds him down and a few times, and he's done. To me, it's not a reasonable inference to suggest that he slept through it is a reasonable inference to suggest he slept through the violent, destructive, screaming murder of his girlfriend. That's just not reasonable. It all happens right next to him, which is true. The only way that Ethan would have gotten out that bed to help protect Xana is if he physically was not capable of doing so. And the fact that there's this hair in his hand, hair under, there's no way it's not Xana's. Ethan and Xana did not fight to the death. If that was the case, the weapons would have been in the room. If that was the case, then why are Kaylee and Maddie also dead? That shit don't make no damn sense. So for people to say that it's Xana's hair that's in his hand, that was so much in his hand that as his hand relaxed on this side, as his hand relaxed, it left blood that came down his arm and the hair, not only in his hand, but also on the floor and connected to the damn bed slat. They didn't fight each other. Now, granted, they have each other's DNA under each other's fingernails, which is interesting, but they also probably just got done doing it before all this shit took place. She was in her underwear and a t-shirt. He was naked and in socks. Party night. They probably just got done doing it. Of course, they're going to have each other's DNA on them. But there's no way, in my opinion, that the hair that he died with in his hand is not the person responsible for their death. And it didn't match Kohberger. Didn't match Kohberger. None of this makes any sense until one addresses other important considerations. The women on the third floor both suffered what a behavioral analyst might identify as rage kill. Kaylee. Signature wounds. Both women had their throats from ear to ear post-mortem, meaning ear to ear. That's ear to ear. Twice. 2. Under the neck. Each of them had nearly identical gashes on their shoulders. And he said that they were like vertical. This is very interesting, Turvey said with a nod. It tells us a great deal about the killers. You are seeing actions play out from more than one offender. This is where he starts getting into Dylan. Which lines up with the corkboard representation of several attractive women and their necklines and their shoulders, referring to Dylan's images on her bedroom wall. These appear oddly similar to specific patterns of injury documented in autopsy reports. It is difficult to overlook similarities between these images in the bedroom and specific wounds on the victims. According to Turvey, self-similar indicators like this are found throughout the house. He specifically noted like the deliberate posing of Mogen and Goncalves' bodies and the infliction of signature wounds post-mortem. He pointed to the fact that Xana's partially naked body was left, again, that freaking term I hate so much, spread eagle, in the doorway to her room while Ethan was covered up with blankets after the killing had ended. And again, he was also naked. And that's something that we talked about yesterday. Even after the girls were posed, they were still covered. Even after whatever happened to Ethan, he was still covered. That is a trait. That is a behavioral signature, an emotional signature of a killer. Usually means that there's some sort of caring for the person that they just killed. And for modesty, for privacy, they cover them up. Not Xana. Xana was treated the exact opposite. Xana was treated with disgusting disrespect. Not only left on the floor in her underwear, but her legs are just spread open in the doorway. That is such a 180 compared to how the other three were handled. That's crazy. Why does this matter? He asked. Because people will tell you who they are pretty quickly, and you should believe them. All these strange things you see at the crime scene are acted out by the killers. You are seeing the behavioral portrait of the people who did this. Yep. What about Ethan? Why would a killer inflict gruesome wounds only to cover him up? Because they're trying to hide it. Now, this is where it goes into what I've said. Dylan did not want to be the one to discover things. Dylan wanted somebody from an outside source to come in and discover the situation. And this is where he starts getting into it. Because they're trying to hide it. The fact that he was butchered on the bed. Remember, the original call to 911 was that a roommate was passed out, right? And now what do we know from the interviews? That Dylan can't keep her story straight. That she says Xana must have just drank too much and passed it on the floor because, sometimes the floor is just fine. I just thought she was taking a nap. I didn't think she'd overdrank at all. I thought she was okay. I just thought that she maybe had just drank too much. But, I also just didn't want to wake her up. And so my thing with that is, you see your roommate pantsless on the floor, legs spread open, right after hearing screaming and crying. Not only hearing screaming and crying, but hearing it coming from the direction of that freaking hallway. The only reason why her dumb ass is saying that she thinks it was coming from the bathroom is because she doesn't want to admit it was coming from Xana's room. That's why it makes no sense that she keeps saying that dumb shit. For one, you can't tell. For two, you look like a bigger loser than you think you already do because you're telling us you're hearing screaming, crying, it's okay, I'm here to help you, and all this other freaking bullshit coming from that hallway. Then you see your friend on the ground, half naked with her legs open, and a guy apparently just walked out the freaking house in all black, and you're so scared to death, and you just think she's taking a nap and you don't want to wake her up? You just listened to her life being taken out of her body, and you don't want to go wake her up? I cannot stand Dylan. I really hate Dylan. I hate you, Dylan. I hate everything about you and the person that you are and who your parents raised you to be because you are a horrible human. There's nothing that's going to ever make me say that I feel sorry for you. The fact that you can sit here and make all these excuses and lie to the police and just taking all the glory of being a little survivor when you know that you're full of shit. Karma's coming, girl. Karma will come. I promise you. You're young, baby. It's coming. Sammy Smith, too. I swear, Dylan and Sammy Smith are like the same little freaking idiot. I wonder if they're related. They even kind of look alike. Dumb as shit. Okay. The killers are trying to hide Ethan's injuries. So if you were looking down the hall, you might come to the same conclusion. But then again, when you're looking down the hall, you don't see the bed. You have to literally go towards the room to even start seeing the front of the bed because all you can see from right behind the pong table looking down the hallway is the white nightstand askew with blood on it. And then obviously Xana, but you can't see the bed. Okay, let's see. So it says, was he referring to the two surviving witnesses? Was his opinion that Funk and Mortensen could have known more than they told the police? Turvey is solely expressing his opinion here. Neither Funk nor Mortensen has ever been implicated in wrongdoing. He believes they may have been trying to cover. So straight up, Turvey is saying that he thinks that Bethany and Dylan were part of the cover-up, meaning part of the cleanup, meaning part of the lie. That's why this is titled Past the Point of Accusation, because that's basically the exact wording that's in this book, in this chapter. It's no longer a possibility to Turvey, apparently. The evidence is telling him, no, they definitely did something. And if not both of them, definitely little dill over there. Definitely little dill over there. Yes, to say, hey, I just looked down the hall and this is what I saw and this is what I thought. The problem is, even if you look down the hall, you can see the blood is everywhere. Yeah. Because not only was there light in the living room, there was string lights in Xana's room. In Xana's closet, light was on. And Xana was on the floor, laying right in the path of the closet light, meaning she was more than illuminated. But you can't really see how well she's illuminated because of the redactions. But we sure can in the one that's not redacted, can't we? We can see the side of her face. We can see the stab wounds in her arm. We can see the blood. We can see it. There was enough light. And again, if she's in beige underwear and Dylan knows that she's in underwear, well, beige is pretty close to freaking skin color. So you definitely were, remember, almost too scared to go down the hallway, little miss ma'am? Almost means you weren't scared at all. You almost were, but you weren't. But you weren't. That's crazy. It's just a nightmare. And then the 911 call becomes just utter nonsense. A roommate is passed out from drinking and wouldn't wake up. That's literally what Funk told 911 because that's what freaking Dylan is telling her. Or that's the story that they come up with. Either way, it's a lie regardless. And made up as shit. How else do you explain that call? That Xana is passed out on the floor of her room and won't wake up. She's covered in blood, lying in blood. There's blood all over the room. And this girl has enough information about her roommate to tell 911 she's passed out and unresponsive, yet she doesn't see all of these gruesome wounds. And she did. She can lie. She can lie all she wants to. Even if you want to try to say, okay, well, 4:00 in the morning, she's running, she's freaking out, the adrenaline's high, blah, blah, cool for you. But she still says she knew for a fact something was wrong because when she saw Xana before the 911 call, she knew she hadn't moved an inch. Meaning that her memory was good enough right then and there not to have any, oh, this could be my brain playing tricks on me. I just don't know. No, there was none of that in the beginning. When I saw her, she hadn't moved. That's when I knew something was wrong. That means that you literally recalled what you remembered 8 hours before in the most innocence of bullshit, and she hadn't moved. Daylight is at that section of time. The windows were bringing light in. Xana's windows were bringing light in. The regular windows were bringing light in. There's no way you missed the blood. There's blood all over the freaking white door walking up to Xana's room. What do you mean? No. If they wouldn't have, and that's the thing, if they would have called this in as a bloody crime scene with the 8-hour delay, she maybe could have made it just on that fact alone. Everything I just said. 4:00 in the morning. Yeah, there's some dim lighting, but it's soft lighting, blah, blah, blah. All the things I just said. But then, holy shit, the sunlight comes in. You go to check again because something's crazy. And you walk in, you go down the hallway and you notice there's like blood. And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And you look up and holy shit, there's blood on Xana's door. And then you look closer and holy crap, she hasn't moved. And now, oh my God, now you can see she's covered in blood. And oh my God, now you're freaking out. Maybe that would have worked for them. But when it's been 8 hours and you're admitting that you saw everything, you heard everything, and then you're still calling in an unconscious person and not mentioning blood whatsoever, we know you're full of shit. This could have been better played and they probably wouldn't have been looked at so much. But then again, they're stupid. So what do you expect? See right here, Turvey was no longer trying to come up with theories. He had already formed his own opinions. In his mind, this had moved past the point of accusations. He was hired by the defense to poke holes in Bill Thompson's case, and that is exactly what he did. He filed his report as a statement of expert opinion based on forensic evidence and documented behaviors. And then there was still a plea. Makes no sense. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before moving further onto the survivors, he wanted to address the house itself. How does the offender get in? That's the problem. They've got to have the code to the front door or a key or something because nothing is broken in and nothing is disturbed. Not only that, but the house has been redesigned from top to bottom, meaning the floor plan would not have been widely known to people who had been there during previous semesters. But I will say that the floor plan could have been looked at on all of their social media and their friends' social media and house listings online because there are lots of different ways, trust me, I know, that you can view a house. So while I do agree there was a lot of changes and it's a weird ass house, I don't think that somebody with coordination issues would have been able to maneuver around that house as well as this person maneuvered around this house. Let's just say that. There's too many turns. There's too many corners. No, there's no way. Home dude can't even like stand up without looking like he has issues. I mean, I know he's got chains and stuff on, but people that don't have coordination issues don't have that kind of issue standing there with chains on. You can tell. And again, the whole fish story. He could not fillet a fish. He could not get the knife skill down. He couldn't hold the blade correctly. You want me to believe that? What? No. That doesn't work. And then on top of that, what did Molly tell us about the back door? That the kitchen light was on. She couldn't tell if the door was open or closed because it's a big old sliding glass door, but the lights were on. She couldn't see the front. Remember that? That apparently she couldn't see the front numbers. So was the light off in the front at the time that Molly came by, but the back kitchen was on? Like, what's the truth with that? Because we only know what the police came up on. And we don't really know if the light was on until like the sun starts to go down. And we don't know if an officer hit the switch or not. So we need to go back and pay a little bit more attention to that to see. Because if the light was off, it would make more sense that Molly couldn't see it, even though I don't really trust her story either. Like, there's so many freaking things everywhere. It's so hard to like try to give like the benefit of a doubt, even a little bit, to try to put a little bit of their shit together, because everything just comes flooding back the second that you try to. We'll just leave it at the base of this. The damn kitchen windows showed the light was on. And that's where they're trying to tell us that the person went in the door and left from. And that just really doesn't make a lot of sense either. Then it says, why go straight up to the third floor, ignoring Dylan's room on the second? Because they had a target and an objective. These people responsible for these crimes had to have had knowledge of the house. Getting up to the third floor is not that hard, but then you have to look through rooms as you go, passing Kaylee's room until you get to Maddie's. And remember, the way that it was put together, or at least let's just say the way that Dylan told us the story, is that someone was in the middle, hanging out with the dog, singing, dancing, karaokeing. Could have been Kaylee, could have been Xana. They don't know. Dylan doesn't know. So we're just going to leave it at that. Nowhere does it say that the dog was barking like in Asget's video, how it has like the dog comes out and starts barking at what's going on in Maddie's room. And like, that's what got Xana's attention to come up to the third floor. That's how Asget has it. That off the bat doesn't make any sense, because the dog was playing with the person that was on the second floor, not up in Kaylee's room, and then sees a stranger pass by and then comes out and starts barking at the person. They don't start barking until the person says someone's here and starts freaking out and running down the stairs. That's according to Dylan. Now, I wish we could hear more barking on the damn camera, but we literally only hear barking for like a second that sounds like it's from inside the house. And then there's another noise. And then the barking sounds like it's coming from outside. Now, I do think that there is Murphy barking on the camera. I don't think that all of the barking on the camera is Murphy. I don't. But I also feel like the damn dog that we're seeing at 6:48 in the morning could be Murphy. And that would also attest to there being paw marks in Maddie's room. That would also attest to the door being open. He could easily go back and forth himself if the door was just open. But I don't really believe that at all either, because now we know that Dylan definitely was moving around and doing shit. And she definitely went up 2 flights of stairs at 11 o'clock in the morning. Or 10 o'clock in the morning, whichever one it is. One of the two. And that's just what we see in this timeline. And that timeline's not everything. That's why I really wonder, did the door was the sliding door left open because Dylan wanted Murphy to get out in order to have Jack find the dog? This is just a theory. I've got questions about Jack's freaking ass too. Did she have the sliding door left open so that Murphy would get out and maybe go to Jack's house, or somebody would call Jack, or somebody would do something, and somebody else would bring the dog back and come across the scene? And maybe that didn't work, which is why all those hours later, she called Emily. Because that definitely looks like Murphy. But I also hear like a male voice right before you see the dog, almost like someone's outside with that dog. And I don't think there's another golden doodle in the neighborhood. And that definitely looked like that. So I don't know. Like I wish sometimes I was crazy and that I was just like making this stuff up. Because it's everywhere, it's everything, and it's all just nonsensical, all of it. And all of it could mean something, or all of it could mean nothing. It could be Murphy. It might not be. It's not a damn cat. It's a dog. You hear a voice. You hear a female voice a little bit, and then you hear a male voice, and then you see a damn dog. 6:48 in the morning. Door wide open. Dude says he went for a walk. It was open, and an hour later he comes back. It's still open. Balcony wide open. So you're telling me that the killer had time to clean up, pose bodies, clean their own selves so they don't leave any trail of blood or even the scent of blood as they are stepping outside of that house, and was able to leave all the freaking doors open? Ain't no way, bro. They must actually think we're stupid, though. They must actually think we're stupid. Like, holy shit. Holy shit. Okay. And then it says, okay. Getting up to the third floor is not that hard, but then you have to, okay, like I just said, I already read that part. What about Xana, Ethan? They were killed far from that scene, downstairs and at the other end of the house. Exactly. Why? Because once they were done, the killers come down to the second floor and see Xana and realize, oh my God, these people know who we are. And they recognize us and they're witnesses. So we've got to kill her too. Then Ethan, who never gets out of bed while she's fighting for her life, is on the floor. The only way that works is if there was more than one killer, and the only plausible reason is that they are witnesses. See, that is putting recognition. Turvey is very much under the impression Xana recognized the people responsible, if this is how it went down. And that's sort of kind of what we feel when it comes to Ethan, because even if he was just like laying down, and I don't think he was asleep, unless the phones were actually staged, which is very possible because the other parts of the house were staged. Xana's phone was on the bed with Ethan, and his phone was on the floor next to Xana. We know the DoorDash order now apparently came from Xana's account, but before we finally had the receipt and we knew about the phones, we were like, okay, maybe she had his phone so that she could keep an eye on the DoorDash, because we were made to believe during the self-authenticating records that it was from freaking Ethan's account. For months, we were told that, okay? So we were like, okay, maybe she had his phone and she was like watching the DoorDash on his phone, and he just had her phone and he was like on social media on her phone, or just doing something, watching YouTube, doing something on her phone because for some reason she needed his phone. But then you have to consider the staging. And I wish Turvey was talking about Xana and Ethan too, because he hasn't really mentioned much besides the fact that there were wounds on Ethan that were covered up afterwards. Does he know that the phones were switched? Does he know? I don't think he knows. I wonder if that would what his opinion would be on that little situation, especially considering the fact that Ethan's phone that's on the floor next to Xana has a huge chunk missing out of it. I don't think he knows that. There's a couple of things I was surprised he said he didn't know, like about how there was also hair on Maddie's blanket. So maybe he doesn't know about that little phone situation. Then there's the issue of what appears to be a cleanup of the whole second floor. And I say in my notes, third too, because the blood stops at Maddie's door's threshold. the little dots stop there. There's no dots at all on the floor leading to the steps. There's no dots on the steps, on the platform, or on the steps that lead downstairs. There's no blood in front of Dylan's door. We have the latent little print things from the amido black impressions or the amido black testing, but there's no sprinkly blood. There's no drop blood. There's no a person's walking, and as they're walking and their body's moving and bouncing as they go down the step, blood drops off of them. We don't have none of that. It stops at the door. Minus like the little pieces up on the wall and on the railing. The floor is immaculate from scene to scene. Now we do have the liquid on the floor from the cups being spilled. But there's no blood. And even in the hallway where there's like stuff, it's on the baseboards. It's not on the floor. It's on the baseboards. Weird. There's no doubt about that. The killers cleaned up the common areas of the second floor, which means they have had to have had the ability, the motivation, and the time. All the blood diluted with an unknown substance. The substance was water or a cleaner of some kind. They washed off the walls, the floors, the table, and everywhere except where the actual killings occurred. They cleaned up the first floor bathroom, which we haven't gotten to yet, and were meant to believe 2 survivors waited 8 hours before calling police or going pee after a night of drinking. While all of this is going on, never heard a thing. How is that possible? Now, I do know that Dylan's hands look weird in the body cam. They look like she's been in water for hours because her skin is very pale just around her hands up until like this portion of her. But then we also have like Gideon's arm. Like she still has Gideon written on her arm. So like this looking like it's been bleach soaked and then still having Gideon written on her arm is weird. A very strange mixture of things. Because even if like, unless it's like permanent marker and she did take a shower and it just didn't come off all the way, because her hair, I mean, it looks like it was wet at some point and then dried, like natural dry. That's what it looks like to me. I guess like sort of like mine a little bit because I don't have any products or anything in it and it just like dried. But hers is, that's what it looks like. It looks like she just kind of like towel dried it and like let it sit. And then like didn't really like brush it or anything. Just sort of just like did her thing. Maybe brushed it as it was wet or whatever. Like it just dried. It dried. And she doesn't mention anything about taking a bath, a shower, none of that. And I know that like, they're saying that the first floor bathroom looks really empty. And to me, I mean, it does, but not as empty as they originally tried to like make it sound. So I'm glad that whenever Turvey did his interview, he is saying, you know, there's shampoos, there's soaps, you know, there's like a couple of things. There's a towel behind the doorway, but there's no other towels. There's no dirty clothes. It's not used the way that the second and the first floor and then the third floor bathroom is. Now the third floor bathroom, though, the girls' bathroom was clean. It was clean. There was no dirty clothes on the floor. It was rugs. Everything was nice and neat. The second floor bathroom, though, was a mess. But it also is like the most commonly used one because that's where the washer and the dryer is. So that's kind of like natural. It seems very natural. So if you take into consideration now, the third floor bathroom being really clean and organized and not really having a lot of clutter in it besides like their products that they use, and then the way the first floor bathroom looks, you could say that it's normal. Because those 2 bathrooms are almost on the same level, except for the fact that they didn't go pee for 8 hours and the bathroom's right there, meaning that they were obviously too scared to just go right there for what? Or is that where you spit most of the time because that's where stuff's getting cleaned up? Now, people apparently are seeing some sort of print in the bathroom somewhere. I haven't taken a look at that yet, but I'm going to because there sure is freaking Murphy's paw prints in Maddie's freaking bedroom. And how the cops just like, how do they not see that? Because it looks like the ISP people are just taking a photo of like the pillow on the floor and they're not even paying attention to the fact that there's 2 paw prints right there. And that only gets left if the paws were wet. Like, why else would there be an imprint on the floor of a paw print? Crazy. It's a compelling question. How did all of this happen in less than 4 minutes? It didn't. It did not happen in 4 minutes. The prosecution's narrative makes no sense whatsoever. You see that in Sutton's rebuttal in my report. They have no reasonable explanation for the holes in their own data. They don't. Literally at all. So here comes the questions. And I'm skipping one of them because I don't remember, like, this football player thing about Ethan comes in here again. And I know that he played a lot of sports. And I thought maybe he played football in high school, but then a lot of people were saying that he never did. But I could have sworn that we did have pictures of him in like a yellow football outfit. But he was littler with like a buzz cut, right? So I feel like we've seen him play in like a smaller football thing. So I don't know if he played football in high school or not. I just remember seeing like smaller pictures of him. Smaller pictures of him. But these are the questions. And it has Bryan in here because that's the narrative, okay? How did Bryan C. Kohberger break into the house at 1122 King Road sometime after 4 o'clock in the morning, find his way upstairs, ignoring Dylan's room along the way, and silently butcher 2 women 8 feet above her bed? How did he kill Ethan, a 6'4", 228-pound former high school football player, while his girlfriend fought for her life on the floor beside him? I mean, regardless of if he played football or not, he was a big dude. He was a strong, big guy. Strong, big guy. How did Kohberger clean all of the blood off the living room walls, the floors, the beer pong table, the knee wall ledge, only to inadvertently place a White Claw box atop a couple of stains he missed? How did he transfer Ethan Chapin's undiluted blood to the top of the stairwell? Who sterilized the first floor bathroom? Why did they do it? And how is it possible that police did not seem to care? How did Bryan Kohberger escape, drive to his apartment, and ultimately make it all the way back to Pennsylvania without transferring a single cell of DNA from any of the victims? Or anything else for that matter. I actually know the answer to that, Turvey said. In fact, I tried to explain this all to Ann Taylor, and he claims she wouldn't listen. Listen to what? Didn't she hire him to poke holes in the prosecution's case? Yes, and I believe I've done that ably. But none of what I or the rest of the team found seemed to matter, meaning he is not the only person that presented Ann Taylor with information that she decided to just ignore, which is freaking crazy. Super crazy. 4 days after presenting our findings about the knife sheath and the blood spatter analysis and overwhelming contradictions at the scene, her client decided to change his plea. Take the deal. It shocked me, to be honest. I heard about it on the news, just like everyone else, which is still so crazy to me. That is so freaking crazy to me. If a PhD in criminology presented compelling evidence to Kohberger's lawyer, proving the case against him was so problematic, why would Ann Taylor let her client possibly ignore it? What would be the rationale in allowing a client to accept life in prison without the possibility of parole? And he just says, like, in the interview, Turvey's just like, we'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there. And then they basically want to now shift the focus of the conversation to Bethany. And so that's where the chapter ends. Also, don't buy this lip gloss. I saw somebody ask me yesterday what kind of lip gloss this was, and I was talking about something, so I forgot to get back to it. If y'all are on TikTok, you've probably seen this one. This is the Maybelline lifter gel that's like all over TikTok. Don't buy this shit. I'm literally only using it because I bought it and I'm not wasteful and I have to use it, but it makes my lips feel dehydrated. It was like $10 and it came with a free lip liner, which I didn't even know that it was going to come with. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This shit makes my lips feel dehydrated. I'm just not going to throw it away because this was $10 freaking. Don't buy it. So don't let the hype on TikTok make you buy this shit because it literally makes your lips so freaking dehydrated. That's why you see me use it 80 times. Okay, don't buy it, Mandy. Yeah, it is so you'll use more. And I'll never buy this again because I can feel it. That other one that I use, I don't even know where I put it. The one that I use like all the time, where the frick is it? I don't even know where it's at. That's another reason why I've been using this poop stuff. I don't have like no organization when it comes to makeup either, because I'm not really a makeup person. So I just use my old Ipsy bags. Oh my god, where's my good one? I'm so disorganized. Oh, there it is. This one right here from CoverGirl, Clean Fresh Yummy Gloss, is the one that I normally use. This I love. I've bought this like 8 times because I don't get this dehydration feeling. I don't. I love this one. I will buy more of this one. And I also don't like colory stuff. So this one's good, but that other one is poop. And it's crazy to me that like there's nobody on TikTok talking about that. Like I see all these people pushing it, and I guess maybe because I bought it off TikTok shop, I probably need to put a video and just be like, this shit dehydrates your face. Don't use it. But I'm just letting y'all know because somebody asked. Mandy asked, and there you go. Okay, that's it for this chapter. See the one too bad, 2 hours, that's not too long. Yeah. I mean, I wish that I don't know. I just wish that I'm really bad with talking to people because I can't deal with people giving me inconsistent information like in real time. Because if I remember, why don't you remember? And if I remember and you're wrong, then what are you doing? And I just have really bad issues with handling that kind of stuff because I just dealt with so many people being deceptive my entire life and manipulative that when it comes to like just having a normal conversation, I don't take inconsistencies very easy because of how much shit that I've already kind of like dealt with. So it's difficult. So I don't want to say that I wish I could talk to her because I don't. Especially since I'm pretty sure the custody queen's already said something about that whole situation because of Chris Whitcomb, or one of them said something. I just have a feeling. Because like I've seen stuff that he posts on social media and he like sort of replies a little bit to people, but like I haven't gotten a response to anything that I've asked. Because I'm asking why Chris is putting stuff about like the ping pong table in there. And now I see why he's not responding, because he's also talking about the blood on the ping pong table being Xana's and it's not. And that's kind of important because they're basing their entire theory on that being Xana's blood. And it's not. And inconsistencies matter. But I wish I knew if he knew about the phones being switched at the house, because that would be, to somebody who thinks that the house was staged, that would be more of an indicator to somebody, I think, that this whole thing was staged because the phones are in opposite hands. Like someone wasn't paying attention or maybe didn't know enough to be able to put the phones where they belonged. Very possible. But yeah, tomorrow we'll go live over something else in the morning. I kind of want to talk about the Alec Murdaugh stuff. His team came out today and did a press conference. I think that's what we're going to do in the morning because tomorrow's Tuesday. So I think we're going to talk about Alec Murdaugh, the stuff that's happening. I know some things about the case. I don't know everything about the case. I know there's a lot of questions. I know there were a lot of people that thought that he was innocent until like certain pieces came out at trial. But there's still a lot of people that think that he might have been set up in some way. And now with things, the way that things are happening, it is really interesting because the only thing that kept him in jail after the charges were overturned are those financial charges that he was like really happy to take, which I find strange. And y'all know now he's suing that lady. The lady, the Betty lady, the clerk of court lady. Now he's filed a lawsuit against her. And I'm thinking, how? I guess because he's going to try to say that he's innocent and her manipulating the jury caused him undue harm or emotional distress for a wrongful conviction. I don't know. I don't know. I want to look over it tomorrow and see what the stance is for his lawsuit. But what I did not know, guys, holy shit. We're going to do the Chicken Boy interview. We'll do that. Maybe we'll have time to do it tomorrow too. Tomorrow, I'm not working tomorrow. I have all day. So as long as I get up at a decent time, then I can do probably just 3 short lives, because I want to talk about Alex Murdaugh, but I know we need to catch up on the interview too. And there's like other stuff too. I don't know. We'll do it. We'll figure it out. Plus I still want to look at like alien stuff over on my other channel too. So we'll figure it out. But I want to talk about that one because it's an interesting precedent, interesting situation, and it's going back to trial. I just don't know if it's going to happen in 2026 or 2027. I don't really think that I want to I want to keep up with what's going on, but not like too crazy. I want to soak in the details from the trial. Like, I want to hear the evidence at the trial. I don't really want too much of the in between. Like, I know enough now from like just doing a little bit of research over the past week or so, or however many days this has been going on. But eventually, like, I just want to watch the trial. Like, when it redoes itself, I want to probably go live and watch it and see what the truth is that's being presented in court. But then again, now that we know the way that shit really happens, is what's being presented in court really truth? Now, I question that now for like everything, after seeing the way that facts are manipulated in this case. I mean, look what they did with the IGG. Look what they did with the FBI's involvement. They were able to manipulate so many things in this case to make them look like things that they weren't once it actually was approved for court. So I don't really know what to trust anymore when it comes to all of that, but I'd like to see all of that. But let me tell y'all this part. Did y'all know, which I'm sure most of y'all that follow that already know, did y'all know that chick that wrote the book, the clerk of court, did all that shit because she said that a guilty verdict would make her book sell more? Well, did y'all know that it was a self-published book? And did y'all know that she plagiarized that damn thing? And did you know that they have proof of her plagiarizing it because of communications between her and some journalist somewhere, and the lady giving the clerk of court chick some sort of insight into a story that she was going to write on the case? And she just took the journalist's story and like plagiarized it in her book that she published that flopped and was apparently horrible, all except the one portion in the very beginning that was completely plagiarized. This lady is something else. This lady is something else, just out there doing the freaking most, bro. Becky, out here doing the damn most. So I want to see what's going on, because it's just a little wild. And we got stuff with Delphi happening. I really hope that if that does end up like a whole court situation again, which it needs to be a completely new trial. The entire thing needs to be redone. They need to be able to present the evidence that they have. Delphi's hand, Delphi, that all of Richard Allen's attorneys had everything against them. I just hope that it's not like last time, but I highly doubt that there's going to be cameras. But it's not Judge Gold. It's not supposed to be Judge Gold. So we'll see what happens with that. There's a lot of going on that needs. She got probation. She's doing the most, bro. For real. For realio. My God. Crazy. All right, you guys. I'm going to get off of here. I am going to go cut my hair, take a bubble bath, drink some lavender tea, and try to go to bed before midnight. She should be unseated. I always said the goal of Judge Gull. She needs to be unseated. She needs to be disrobed. Is that what you call it? Disrobed? I think. Disrobed? Yeah, she needs to be removed. Like, judges are honorable, and that's far from what you could use to describe that woman. Okay. Thank you so much for being in here with me tonight. And again, thank you so much corruption for all of the gifted memberships. I am just so floored. Y'all know we have like 1,000 members, guys. Isn't that crazy? 1,000 freaking members. That is so insane. Thank you again for the super stickers and the super chats and those of you that became members on your own and those that been here for a while. I appreciate you guys so much. Yes, I'm going to cut my hair. Did you think I'd go to a barber to shave my sides, ma'am? I'm not cutting my length off. I need to shave my head. You see this? You see this? See this? And I got to cut my son's hair. My mom is a beautician, and I grew up knowing the trade, so I can cut hair and color hair and do all kinds of stuff. And it saves me money. It saves me money. If you have an old YouTube that was created, I want to say 2012. Is that the year? Where's Lady Di? She knows. She knows. But if you have a YouTube account that is from 2012 and before that, it's a legacy account and you're not allowed to have gifted memberships because I'm not allowed to accept gifted memberships either. So even if like you don't even have the option, don't even have the option. It sucks. It sucks. I mean, look, especially in this economy, bro, like there ain't no way I am paying the prices that my mom and my sister charge people. They're talented, but I could never. Like, I could never. 10 more gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Miller Time. Thank you so muchos. Congratulations to those who end up getting those. I think it even allows down in the comments, like people that come in and like watch it after the fact. I see people in the comments like saying thank you for a gifted membership. And I don't know how that works. I have no idea how that stuff works, but I think that's how it works. Like even people in the comments are like not in the live chat. It'll be like a few hours later sometimes, and I'll see a comment about like, "Oh my God, thank you for the gifted membership." So that's cool. I didn't know that it did that. Oh, I really hope that you sue the shit out of that freaking vet, bro. I mean, I don't know if you have plans for your pet's ashes, but they do have people that can make like paintings, and they use some of the ashes like in the painting for like the animal, or if they had a collar, they do like portraits. They'll paint a portrait of your pet, and then like they put holes on each side of it and put their actual collar with like the tag on it. And it's real cute. I just hope you get some answers because that vet should have known what they were doing. And I've been so scared to take mine in because I still haven't gotten Link fixed because we don't do vaccinations. I grew up with animals my whole life. We never stuck them with anything, and my animals don't go outside of my house. They don't go to doggy parks. They don't free range. They are in these walls. So we don't do all that extra stuff. We just don't. So I'm trying to find a vet that will allow me to fix him without having to get vaccinations, and it's being a little bit difficult. Which I'm surprised because I live in the country. Like I live in a very country area. So I don't know where all the old school vets used, like where'd they go? What happened? Still looking. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Oh, I know. Nope. Yeah. I'm very, oh man, like I'm so freaking particular. And like stories like Kiwi scare me. Too much sedation from an MRI and stopped breathing in their sleep. Like that's freaking ridiculous. The vet is supposed to know the dosage for the weight, supposed to know exactly how to handle things. I'm not. I will go freaking postal, bro. I will go freaking postal. I hope you get answers to keep her in. Yeah. Well, yeah, they probably just thought you were going on a beach trip. I know. It's difficult because you want to be like, no, not really. But then like, you don't really know what to respond. That's crazy. I can't. I'll get migraines. I'll get migraines. That's why I keep it like that. Bro, I've been seeing some stories of people getting sick, talking about how they got bit by a tick, and it's like causing like way more issues than normal. Oh, I know. But that is a reminder. I have to have somebody come in and do some yard work next week because the sides of the fence and everything have just gotten like out of hand, and underneath the house has just gotten like out of hand, and we need to be able to pest control everything, but I don't want to pest control everything with all the freaking grass. Crazy. So we're going to have somebody come in and fix some of the stuff in the backyard. And then we're going to be going in and putting a bunch of diatomatrix earth and a couple other things around because we've got the trees and stuff, and we're trying to get the garden box together. So we got to be super careful. You get alerts for ticks. That's pretty bad. Oh my God. Inside. That's crazy. All right, you guys, keep us up to date, Kiwi, about everything that's going on. I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. Try to figure out everything that we're gonna do tomorrow, but we're definitely gonna cover several things. We're gonna be pretty busy Tuesday and Thursday because there's a couple things, and we can easily just do like a little hour live and handle it. And I'd rather do that so we can have the conversations. And there's some things sometimes I miss things, and y'all are guys, hey, go look over here and grab this, or hey, this person said this, and so we'll figure all that stuff out. Y'all have a super good night. Y'all try to relax, get some rest. If you're going somewhere, drive safe. If you're sleeping, have sweet dreams. What a Monday. All right, you guys. Thank you again for being in here with me. See y'all. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that the notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives.